everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Jessica, and in today's video I wanted to just do it a little bit differently. Typically my videos are like a little bit more, or not organized, but more like polished, I guess. And I'm just like hanging out at my house. This is pretty much what I look like when I hang out at my house. I'm in a t-shirt, leggings, and in my fuzzy blanket. So I just wanted to go over some things I learned in 2018. I know 2018 isn't completely over yet, but we're getting there, so that's why I wanted to make this video. The first thing I learned is something really random, but my fiance kind of pointed it out and I was like, oh my gosh, you're so right. Investors, most of the time, like if you go to an event and there's a bunch of people there and you need to know who's an investor, look at their feet. They wear New Balance shoes in the 90s and early 2000s that are like, they just all look the same. And then like once you start seeing them, you'll start recognizing it. And we'd go to these events and we'd go talk to people and we'd be like, oh, I bet they're investors. And then we'd go meet them and they're investors. Because they all have like a certain look. So it's usually like jeans, a button-up shirt, something more casual with investor tennis shoes on. Anyway, random, I know. Next thing I learned is that low carb really helps your tummy stay flat. My fiance's keto, or mostly keto, low carb, same thing, I guess, sort of. And I've never really done any of those diets. I've just done my diet that I have to do for my health, which is a lot of stuff. It's gluten-free, no wheat, which is basically gluten-free, no corn products, no refined sugars, not very many tomatoes, just all kinds of stuff. And I looked at my diet being gluten-free, and everything I eat has potatoes and rice in it. And so I'm eating a very high carb diet. Most people on the Mexican side of my family have this like chunkier face. Like it's just in our genetics. And my biggest fear is to inherit that trait. And just carrying my weight in my face. It's not even like anything like other than I don't want a puffy face. And when I do have a puffy face, people immediately point it out because that's all where I carry my weight. So I started eating low carb. And literally instantly, like my face goes down, although I did have a lot of salty snacks before this video, so if I do look a little chunky, that's why. But typically I do low carb now for the most part, and I see a huge difference. Even my fiance has noticed, like I'll wake up and he'll be like, dang, you look like so skinny today. I'm like, thank you, I'll take that as a compliment. Like I look fairly thin because I do work out a lot, but just like my tummy area is my problem area, or my face. And I'll see a huge difference in both of those areas. So low carb, wonderful, no complaints there. Although it has had me eat a little bit more meat than I like to eat. I don't like to eat very much meat. I was plant-based for quite a while, but being low carb, it's just really hard for me to live off of like veggies and fruit. So I do eat more chicken now that I am low carb. Another thing I learned, shout out to Grace Fit UK. She is an influencer that I really, really like her content. She keeps it real and stuff, so check her out on YouTube if you haven't, or on Instagram. She talked about working your shoulders at the gym, and that is a plate, like my shoulders and my chest, I just never do, ever. I don't enjoy it. I just skip over that little section of life, and I just focus on everything else. And she had a really good point the other day that working your shoulders helps create an hourglass figure. And I never thought about it until I started looking at recent videos I posted where like I've been working my legs and my legs look really strong, and I've been working abs and I have a nice little curve, but I'm starting to get a pear shape, and I've never had a pear shape, and it's because I literally never touch my shoulders. So my shoulders are staying small and everything else is growing. So if I worked my shoulders, then not like super crazy broad shoulders, but at least doing my shoulders, I would have more of an hourglass figure, and having like bigger shoulders helps create your hourglass figure. I don't know why I didn't think of that before. That was just dumb on my part. So shout out to you, Grace, because I'm an idiot and that's just really smart to do. Up next on my list is that you should never want nice things in life just because people around you have nice things. As you grow into a higher class, or maybe you've been in a higher class your whole life and your friends around you all have like very nice things, I don't feel like you should feel pressured to have those nice things. I have seen it in other people's lives as well, where you feel the pressure to have that nice car or those nice clothes because the people you surround yourself with do. Like just in those wealthier cliques, I see that all the time, which is new to me because I've never been in a wealthier clique like this. You know, people, like groups that hang out at country clubs and stuff like that. But for a while there, you know, talking about my nice gym, I would go and everyone has like Porsches and really nice cars and Ferraris and everything. And for a small period of time, I was like, oh, I want a Porsche, like, because I fit in there. And I was just influenced by those people. Like, I wanted to not show up in our little Hyundai and be like, hey. I was really glad that I recognized that in myself, that I shouldn't just want nice things because people around me have them. In the same way, like, I'll go to influencer events all the time or hang out with, you know, fashion bloggers, and they're in their Gucci and like these nice brands, which is so great for them, but that's just not who I am. I wear Target clothes a lot. Like, I wear very regular clothes. I just like my accessories to be nicer. Like, I do have nicer purses and my diamond ring and stuff like that are nicer. But I never want to stray away from who I am, which is I rock Levi's are my favorite jeans. I love Target. I love all of those discount brands. I'm all about that. And so it's just important to never feel pressure that you need to uphold a certain standard for no reason other than impressing other people. You know, I work hard, so if I feel like buying a Porsche or a Lexus, I'm going to do that soon, but I don't want to buy one just because other people have influenced that decision. Something I learned in the department of my relationship is you need to pick and choose your arguments. I've seen other relationships in my life where people just argue about nothing all the time. I've had previous relationships where I argue about nothing, and the important thing with my fiance and I is that we kind of pick and choose our battles and our arguments. We don't have a very argumentative type of a relationship, but in one of the few arguments we do have, I thought about it. And if you know something at the end of the day is right and your fiance or boyfriend may not know it at the time, let me explain this one because it's kind of weird. Don't bother arguing with them about something that you know you're correct about in the end. An example, my fiance and I were discussing a budget to have on our apartment when we went from living with roommates to our first one-bedroom apartment. And we had very many arguments at that time about how much our budget should be. And my fiance kept saying, like, I want our budget to be like $1,000 or $1,500. And I know for us that wasn't, like, for the area we wanted to live in, we do like a nicer apartment. Like, I knew that wasn't a smart budget for us, and we could definitely afford more. Of course, we don't always want to like spend as much as you can afford. But you know, we had arguments over and over again about the pricing on that, and we ended up going with the same budget that I had originally said, but at the time it seemed like a crazy budget. But then when you start looking at apartments and start touring things, you realize that like $1,500 in LA for a one-bedroom apartment is literally nothing. And so it's just foolish for me to continue having that argument when I know at the end of the day, when it comes to touring apartments, he will learn that $1,500 is nothing. Same with like buying a house and stuff. Like, you know, for months we had talked about like when we buy a house, this is our budget, blah, blah, blah. Like we've been thinking about it for a very long time. And then you start looking at houses in that budget and you realize, oh crap, the LA housing market grows so much every year. So like, I don't know why I've argued with him so many times about like a house when I know as it's getting closer, it's becoming what I have said the entire time. So like, there's no point in me arguing like all these other times about like, oh, we need to have this kind of a budget for a house when like really, you know, at the end of the day, when you start touring things, if you know, like if you're in a serious relationship and you kind of know how each other thinks at that stage, you know, in the end, like, he's gonna want what you're saying anyway. So don't even bother arguing. Like, it's just so dumb. I don't know if that makes sense. So sorry if it doesn't make sense, but it's really hard to explain. Okay, the next thing is letting God take total control of your lives is seriously the best decision you can make, but it is incredibly brave to do and it's incredibly scary to do. Two big examples of this that have been in my life are when I was living in my hometown, I worked for this doctor. I was his personal assistant. I got like all his groceries. I took care of everything for him. And he was literally a complete crazy person. He was impossible to work for. And even his former assistant who trained me literally told me he's insane. So, you know, I finally couldn't take it anymore. And I decided my happiness and mental health is worth more than how much this guy was paying me to be his assistant. And it was awful. It was just so bad. So one day I just went to work and I quit. I had no game plan after that. I didn't have a backup, a job lined up. I just straight up quit. And I ended up working at an elderly home, which if you don't know much about me, that might sound kind of weird, but I do love the elderly, and they're like my favorite people on earth are old people. And it was just so like fulfilling to work at this like nursing home. I didn't get paid very much at the time, but I was just so happy doing that, and just getting paid to hang out with old people all day was awesome because I love them so much. I just have such a soft spot in my heart for old people. The second time this happened was my fiance and I, we were, struggling, like coming out of our struggling phase, like our financial struggling phase of making it in LA, which everyone has when they first come to LA. And we were going to move into a new apartment, and all we needed to do was the day we moved in, which was over the weekend, to pay our deposit. And we had almost enough in our bank account at the time. I mean, it was a pretty big deposit. And we knew the future, like we weren't gonna have trouble affording this apartment. It's just like paying that big deposit at the beginning. And we had a check coming in, and the check came in, but the problem was it came in over the weekend, so it wasn't gonna hit our account till like the Monday or something like that, or the following Monday. And so on the weekend we moved in, and we did not know how we were going to get this apartment, because when you move in, you usually hand them the deposit check or, whatever money you need for the apartment. And then you like sign all the paperwork and then you move in. For some reason, at this time period, God kept telling Tim the song Living on a Prayer. And so we were just chilling in our apartment before moving into the nice apartment, and, our shared apartment with other people. And we were in our room, probably sounding like insane people, like screaming Living on a Prayer. And, for some reason, God just kept telling him, like, the words of that song. And we went the next day to move into our nice apartment. And the woman didn't ask for our deposit. For some reason, like, I think she was new or something, and she just didn't ask us. And then on Monday, she asked us by the time that the check had cleared in our bank account. And so we were able to pay, and, like, I just can't explain that feeling going to that apartment that day, because we didn't have the money for that apartment at that time. Like, how were we going to get that apartment? So it was just a really crazy feeling to think that, like, over the weekend we totally were like so giggly, like, oh my God, we just pulled this off. How did that happen? So there's other instances as well. Those are just like two more prominent ones in my life. So just trusting God and not having a plan B is so fulfilling, and it's just amazing things can happen, but you have to actually let them happen. Something else I've learned this year is you need to really realize that if something is fun for you and it's not fun for most people out there, that's totally okay. Like, I feel like the norm on Facebook is to complain about your job, or complain in general about stuff, or, hate your job and everything like that. And it's totally normal not to. An example, like in the influencer space, everyone always complains about video editing. And I genuinely enjoy video editing and making my thumbnails and things like that. It's just realize, like, if you actually like something, because it's the norm to not like it, it's totally fine. Just recognize that you do like it, I guess. Because for a long time, like, I just always felt like, oh, I need to not like my job, because it's normal to not like your job. Like, so many people don't like going to school, but if you genuinely like learning in a class, recognize that. Like, it's totally okay. So that was something random I learned. I have two more things I wanted to share. One of those is that if you perhaps live in a small town and you have big dreams, or friends or family members judge you for your goals, your dreams, anything like that, learn to protect your dreams. You don't have to share things. I've always been the type of person that wants to share with my friends and family. Like, even before social media, like, I just always like to share like how things are. I like to hear how their lives are going. And it's gotten to the point where there are very big things happening in our lives. Big things that if you would have told me were happening a year ago or 6 months ago, I would have been like, that's insane. Like, that's crazy. Like, it's really hard to wrap my head around. So understandably, when I do tell certain family members or friends or whoever about these, and they just kind of like judge me for it, it doesn't help with my manifesting and how I feel about these goals and how I feel about my abilities to achieve these big things. So if that is you as well, or maybe you want a career shift and it goes against the norm or what you've been telling, what your family and friends want you to do, just protect your dreams. Don't tell other people about them. Journal them, or if you have one specific friend that understands, just channel through that friend. I only have a few friends that we talk about with the actuality and everything that we're doing here in depth, and they're very excited and they understand and they're very uplifting, but it's a very small group of people as opposed to when I used to just call my family and friends and be like, hey, this is what's happening. I don't do that anymore, and neither does my fiance, just because it really just negatively impacts and it causes you to doubt yourself. The last thing I learned this year is to really focus on yourself and finding out your skills, like what are you good at, like your personality and things like that, because for me, in finding myself, I live in LA with all kinds of different things going on. For a while, I wanted to be a fashionista. Like I would go to all the beauty influencer events or not beauty, fashion, same thing basically nowadays. But I would go to all the fashion influencer events and everyone looks flawless, and that's just not really who I am. Like I don't layer all the accessories and do all this stuff. I think it's beautiful that people have the talent and desire to do that. I just have more of like a minimalist type of a style. Like I'm not interested in all the stuff. So I was kind of trying to be them. I feel like online, so many people want to be that like sexy person online, like with a serious face and the model type of a pose. Everyone always wants to do that and emulate that. But why should I need to do that? Or like, why do I constantly feel like I want to be that person when really I'm super bubbly, super smiley, super quirky and dorky. And I really need to embrace that in myself. I love Patricia Bright's videos. She is a YouTuber, and she talked about this recently, and it just really helped wrap my head around this concept. Because for so long, like I wanted to be like that super fit girl online. I wanted to do these different things and pull pieces of everything to make who I am. But really, I just need to be the best version of myself. But I didn't realize until kind of making YouTube videos that I am extremely quirky. And just kind of the way I talk is kind of goofy, and I just need to embrace that. For so long, like I didn't want to put that out online. Like I deleted some of my older posts a while back, and they were like kind of sexier content and like serious face, trying to be all model-y looking. But at the end of the day, that's not really who I am. I did like showing that side of me, but I'm goofy. I'm, I have that bubbly, outgoing personality, and I feel like even if you look at my Instagram, an example, it kind of I've started letting it shine through a little bit more. I've started making like comedy videos, which is terrifying to do, which they're kind of funny, but I hope to improve. I have a bunch of other ideas that I hope to throw out in terms of like my comedy. I'm just trying to embrace that aspect of my life, especially with like online and things like that, because for so long online I tried to be everything that I wasn't. And same with like looking at Patricia Bright. Oh, the camera died in the middle of that. But like I was saying, I think it's awesome that Patricia Bright just kind of embraces that sassiness and edge that she brings, and she just lets it shine through in the camera. So that's what I've kind of been trying to do, but in my own way, obviously. Like I don't have the same personality as her, but trying to embrace my goofier side and not be so like serious and organized, because that's not really who I am in person. Like I'm organized, but I'm not like, I don't know, I'm not like kind of sexier and like whatever, like I'm just a goofball. So I'm trying to portray that. Anyway guys, thank you all so much for watching. I hope this helped y'all learn stuff too. Hopefully like my mistakes and random stuff that I've learned this year is helpful for y'all. If y'all have any questions, please be sure to drop them down in a comment down below. And please be sure to give this video a thumbs up or subscribe if you enjoy my content. That would be amazing if you did. Okay, I will see y'all guys next time. Bye.